Hello Warlords and Generals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tabhammer. Today we are going to be continuing off from our 40k lore of talking about Tzeentchs demons and talking about the named champions amongst them, or at least the ones with rules on the tabletop. And today we're going to be covering only the demonic ones. When on that note, we're going to start with the horror known as the Changeling. Also known by the title as the Trickster of Tzeentch, who is a horror that embodies the changer of ways love to sowing chaos with a perverse sense of humor while he does it. Having the power to assume any form, from the tiniest insect to the largest of any greater demon, this blessing is from his patron, which assists him in being Tzeentch's favored trickster. Being the ultimate doppelganger, having impersonated some of the crucial events to cause chaos and confusion in a battle, such as when he impersonated Solar Macarius, ordering to retreat just as the real War Master was ordering to press forward, or when he assumed the form of a Grot, making a few slight adjustments to War Boss's Git Smash's favorite Mega Shooter, ones that only became apparent right after he fired it next, causing it to explode, killing Git Smasher and his retinue of bodyguards. Of his recorded trickster accomplishments and deeds, my personal favorite one is when he impersonated a Keeper of Secrets, one of the greater demons of Slaanesh, answering the summons of an Imperial commander under an assault from the very vengeful Dark Angel Space Marines chapter, seeking revenge against the man who had slighted them. The man traded his daughter's soul for a powerful artifact that would, in the commander's own words, end the conflict quickly. After the changeling left, and as the commander activated the artifact given to him, a squad of Deathwing Terminators teleported around him. The artifact was a teleporter Homer, which did indeed aid him in ending the conflict quickly. You can now see the true shades and colors of the changeling's sense of humor. Though it prefers to avoid battle and simply cause discord wherever it goes, in battle is quite effective, being able to use powerful magic and even being able to mimic opponents' weapons and form should they be able to close the gap. The only two forms the changeling cannot assume is Tzeentch's, for his patron will not amuse the idea of a copy of him in any regard or way. And the second is the changeling's own true form. For over the many centuries and even millennia of its existence, it has assumed so many faces it has forgotten his own. Only one who remembers and knows this is Tzeentch himself, who he keeps this secret from his favorite trickster so that he can keep his trickster on a leash and control him better. For Tzeentch very rarely requests and uses the changeling in his own plans, because he leaves the changeling to sow discord on his own. I mean, generally speaking, if you had someone that was doing a job for you almost as well as you could do it, wouldn't you leave them to their own devices? Makes sense. However, whenever he does request and use the changeling in his plans, he uses it to devastating effects, mimicking other officers and giving wrong orders so that some people may not be in the right places when Tzeentch's demons fall. This makes the changeling unique, for he is one of the few demons even in existence, rather than just of Tzeentch's minions, that has almost complete autonomy from their chaos god that they work for, making the changeling even more deadly. The fact that he's able to accomplish all of this, mostly based on his own whims and desires. That pretty much covers most of the changelings, so we are going to move on to the next horrors that are chosen as Tzeentch, the Blue Scribes. Now, in order for me to explain the Blue Scribes' role, I have to kind of go way back in time in memoriam, when Tzeentch ruled over as a supreme being, or so his followers maintain at least. Supposedly, in their jealousy, the other chaos gods actually joined forces together to bring down Tzeentch, for he was just that much more powerful than him by himself. Though, however, right before they could strike the killing blow and bring him low, Tzeentch cast a spell, causing his body to become crystal, to which he then threw himself on a mountain within the warp. This caused his form at the time to shatter into uncountable shards and go throughout space and time of the universe. Some who are even privy to this tale or his followers claim that this is the beginning of sorcery within the galaxy, for that's when it was basically available to everyone. For you see, each one of those shards was a sliver of his power and was a spell, a scroll, a tome, or some form of magic that people could learn. After this event, Tzeentch created two horrors, blue horrors, to basically go around the universe and collect his shards of power back for him. The names of these two, and I'm going to try my best to pronounce these correctly, were Properites and Tzeentchs, with the task to recover all of the lost shards, like I briefly mentioned. And not by chance did Tzeentch pick the two low on the totem pole demons, as it were, for this was by design, these two in particular, for the tasks, gifting them with a little extra intellect than your average horror so that they can conceive their surroundings and know when to run and not lose all of Tzeentch's powers that they have gathered. However, with that extra intellect, Tzeentch also put in some safeguards of betrayal. For example, properites can transcribe the magic into chaotic runes and glyphs, but cannot read his own writing. Tzeentchs is able to cast the spells by reading his twin's writing, but cannot fully understand them, making the spells random at best on which ones they're actually casting. These factors, on the top of always bickering and arguing with each other, being blue horrors, Tzeentch assures that they do not become a problem for long, that they will not betray him or use the power against him. And the exact reason is why he didn't entrust this task to a Lord of Change, for they have enough intellect to realize they could use that power to usurp Tzeentch's throne as the god of sorcery, magic, and change. This strange symbiosis also functions as a chaotic barrage of spells in battle. For the simple rapid-fire spells at random, these twins stride along a disc of Tzeentch, allowing them for speedy travel and rapid retreat if they are in peril on the battlefield. Fortunately for the wider galaxy, they've slowed down in their task by constant conflict with Tzeentch's enemies and constant bickering between the pair. For if they manage to complete their task and return all of Tzeentch's shattered shards to him, he will once again rule over all of creation as a supreme being of power, and winning, finally, the great game between the Chaos Gods. With the lesser demon champions out of the way, we're going to move on to two of the named Lords of Change within the setting that have rules on the tabletop, and that's why I'm only really covering these two. And the first we're going to start with is the one that's actually used the most in story outside of any other demon besides Scarbrand, and that is Karos.
And his name is John C.
Must be getting some warp interference. I'm sorry, I have no idea what that was about. Anyway, we're going to move on and talk about Karos Fateweaver. Known as the Oracle of Tzeentch, Karos Fateweaver is Tzeentch's right hand and is Tzeentch's answer to seeing the past and the future. For all of Tzeentch's knowledge and prescience, not sure how to say that word, I'm sorry, he is not omniscient. Within the center of his impossible fortress lies the Well of Eternity, where space and time originated from. Knowing his answer to knowing the future lies somewhere within its infinite depths, but Tzeentch knew that he could not survive the well's raging maelstrom either. Or more appropriately, he wasn't sure if he could, which means he wasn't going to risk it. So he kept sending his greater demons, the Lords of Change, in one by one, none of them returning. Growing frustrated, he grabbed his vizier, which at the time he was only known as Karos, and threw him into the well's depths. After spending an eternity soaking within the currents, Karos returned changed, being more hunched and aged than any demon should. Karos also had two heads now. His right head seeing all possible futures, his left seeing all of the past. This blessing, however, came with a backdraw to it. He is blind to the present. completely and utterly blind to things happening right now. This makes him slightly vulnerable when it comes to melee, for he cannot always react quickly enough for the future sight in the middle of franticness that is melee combat. It is due to this gift and transformation that Kairos Fate Weaver has been elevated to the Oracle and is the most favored right hand of Tzeentch. Kairos spends most of his time constantly telling the futures he sees, being cataloged by 9x9 Lords of Change, so Tzeentch comes even a little bit closer to understanding eternity. Rarely will he come to real space, but when he does, no one's futures are safe. For Kairos takes immense pleasure in plucking the strands of fate subtly, allowing mortals to die when they should have lived, and vice versa. On top of his ability to manipulate masterfully the futures of people that he encounters, Kairos' sorcerer's capabilities are truly immense, being able to not only blast apart entire battalions with a spell, but also being able to rearrange and change the landscape on a simple croak. Even though he is vulnerable in melee, his weapon, the Staff of Tomorrow, is not a weapon you want to be struck with at all. The core of the staff is made from rival Lords of Change that he has managed to best and take their essence to forge this weapon, also teaching others to not mess with him or his position as the Oracle. The rod is wrought in change fire. Resting on the top of this is Kairos' Tome of Destiny. The book records what both heads proclaim, writing and changing even as events unfold right in front of him. Looking upon the book induces madness, but to be struck by this staff is even worse, for it is flux mana. Any struck by this will cause agonizing and rapid mutation, and being blind to the present, the book is often how Kairos sees, using it as reference to figure out exactly where he is at a place in time, which is why he can occasionally actually smack people with his staff. It's not always reliable for him, but this is how he gets around and functions. Now, this is normally where I would cover his influences on real space, but there's a lot here, so I might do that as like a separate video later down the road after I've done covering all the Chaos Gods. It's just a lot to cover here, so we're just going to move on to the next god, who is quite possibly one of the most powerful non-god demons in the 40k setting. He is, at least without any debate, the most powerful of the Lords of Change, and that is Atas Rao Keres. Now, I'm not gonna be saying that name all the time because that's a really ridiculous name to pronounce, so moving forward, I'm just going to be calling him Biggest Bird. He's not only insanely powerful, but he's also actually insane. He pretty much just very murder-happy, rage-induced Lord of Change, and this is kind of by design from Tzeentch. Due to this rage-filled insanity and want for destruction of all things, only the most apocalyptic cults attempt to summon him into existence, for he will annihilate all living things on said planet that he is summoned on, friendly cultists or enemies or even other demons, until nothing is left and he dissipates back into the warp. Being not just the most powerful of Tzeentch's demons, but one of the strongest within the warp and in existence, this is mixed with his paranoia and his madness, makes him avoided by all demons. It is good for them that he is very secluded and a bit of a recluse, more wanting to be alone and do his own thing than partake in colluding with his fellow Tzeentchian demons or even fighting demons of the other Chaos Gods. His true purpose and objective is shrouded to him, for only Tzeentch is aware of Biggest Bird's true purpose within his great scheme, having surrounded Biggest Bird with many protective spells and wards to keep him from finding the truth. And these wards have also driven Biggest Bird to complete madness, which is why he's such a rage-induced, murder-happy bird. Any who attempt to learn of his true purpose or origin or identity even, let's just say he takes the moniker No Witness to very insane levels. For when they come close to the truth, he will personally appear right in front of them and obliterate that individual and the entire planet, just so he doesn't risk anyone learning about him or his purpose. Like I said, takes a whole new level to no witnesses. Now, normally this is where I would be covering his summonings into real space. However, I could not find actual cases of it, besides the fact that it has happened before, and when it happens, he genocides the entire planet. So unfortunately, this is where his entry ends. And that ends the video for today. That is my coverage of the demonic champions of Tzeentch. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like to support the channel, please like, comments, please subscribe, and like the video to future content and all that. Leave a comment down below on discussion of the champions of Tzeentch, or if I missed any details besides the obvious of not covering Karas yet. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and happy wargaming.